Hello everybody, it's vanburman here, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at Bright Memory, which is a game currently released on Steam in early access, and I picked this one up in the summer sale. It's currently got 20% off. I'll just quickly check the pricing before I start. So it's like, at the minute it's £5.75, usually £7.19, which is quite interesting. So this is a, for all intensive purposes, first-person shooter, and, well, I guess that's sort of where we're at. You also get a sword to play with as well, which is quite nice. And as you can probably tell by the graphics, it's got a pretty, like, Crysis-esque feel to it, I would say. So I played this on my main computer with RTX on, and it did detract from the frame rates a little bit. It seems like a lot of there seems to be like a fire inserted in a lot of places to, you know, sort of justify fire being a thing. So yeah, the story doesn't. Moving on. So yeah, the frame rate's very okay, basically, is what I mean. I did get over 60 FPS quite comfortably, but I imagine that without the ray tracing, obviously, it would be much better. I also had DLS on as well, so this is like literally the best graphics it could possibly be that you're seeing right now, which is maybe worth noting. It does say on the Steam page, actually, in terms of the minimum requirements, you're looking at a 660 minimal or a 7770. I didn't think the 660 and 7770 were like comparable, but that's interesting. That's something I can look at as well, actually, I guess, just to verify. So it's recommended to be a 1060 or an R9 at 390. So yeah, I'd say the system specs are fairly decent, you know, or decent-ish. Apologies for the black screen there in the recording. That bit was while it was loading. So it just tends to load on a black screen, no sound, nothing, which is not a problem. I think the game looks, Bright Memory looks pretty darn beautiful, actually, to be fair. It's very catchy. I think, you know, it's obviously got a style, which I would, you know, really relate as pretty akin to maybe Crysis-esque graphics. I'm not sure what engine they're actually using for this, but yeah, I mean, I think it looks really nice. Obviously, you can see the fire there. There's fire in quite a few bits as well. I don't know if I've included all that or not, but yeah, he'll be in here somewhere. And it is relatively short at the minute. This is basically a demo for the full version, which is going to be called Bright Memory Infinite, and you get full access to that if you buy this base game. So just worth bearing in mind. I don't know if when the full game comes out, if that will be, you know, a lot more expensive. As you can see here, we've got this, well, lion with fins, more like. Yeah, I guess fins. I don't know. You get a number of abilities to use, some of which you'll be quite familiar with if you played video games previously. You know, like the EMP strike is basically pretty much the same as the bionic ability from, one of the bionic abilities, sorry, from Mass Effect. Cast them up into the air, do extra damage to them while they're in the air. You can, you know, chain your, this is obviously not from Mass Effect, but you can chain your sword attacks as well. You can't just attack with your sword, it does have a cooldown. But one of the things you can do, one of the things I learned that you can do going forward is knock them up into the air yourself. You know, slash them while they're in the air, and then do your, like, where you thrust your sword into the ground, and then you can knock them back up in the air again just to get, you know, some extra damage. Dodging is quite important, as I hadn't learnt at this particular point. But there are a number of other abilities as well that you can gain. You can, you know, you can stop an enemy, put them in like a sort of a time field. You can also have ones where they do extra sort of area of effect lightning damage. I must say that's like the only sort of like semi-janky thing that's in this game that I've noticed so far graphically. Because like I say, it is a beautiful game, and I'd like to maybe do a side-by-side ray tracing, non-ray tracing, just to see what difference that makes. But the blood is not very good, unfortunately. obviously it's a minor gripe. Like, I don't have an issue with it, but I just think when obviously so much effort has been put into a lot of the other stuff, especially the lighting effects, that that would look so almost amateur, I guess. I could understand if it was all a bit more amateur, then I could probably get on board with it. The combat is actually really fun. As a shooter, it works really well. It's nice that you get to add the sort of like a melee. Obviously, it's like a ranged melee almost at times. You get to add that in, but also it doesn't take anything away from the combat. You're not forced to just use guns. You're forced to mix it up. I would say like I enjoyed it to the same level as I perhaps enjoyed Bulletstorm. I think that particular shooting combat was really good. And obviously this is coming from a guy who was very much into his RPGs and and what else, rather than being someone who's into Call of Duty shooters, that sort of stuff. So I'm looking at it through perhaps maybe a different lens than someone who is into a first-person shooter may look at it. But I've not really got anything at the minute but praise for the game. There's not, like, the story is incredibly confusing. You just sort of get dropped in from the start, which is fine. Like one of the main selling points of it is obviously its graphics, and also for me it's graphics anyway, because I really like it. I'm sure that that's quite universal. But also, the gameplay, the gunplay, chaining stuff together. You do get a scoring system, and with like S rank, triple S rank, I think I got at one point in this, and it's really satisfying to string all that stuff together and dodge out of the way of attacks, and the game encourages you to do that. It's nice that you've got the grappling hook system as well. You can do a swing from they're very closely defined areas where you can use your grappling hook, but I imagine that there'll be a lot more platforming as well in the main sort of game with that. That would be really cool. Also, maybe even mix that in with a bit of combat. I don't know. Obviously, it sounds like a lot's going on at that point. So I think at this point I picked the release limit ability eventually, which is it's got quite a high cooldown, but it sort of works as like a super powered is it EMP field? I can't remember what it's called now, but the F ability, and it deals damage as well as knocking them into the air, and keeps them in the air for a bit of a longer duration, and all that sort of stuff is it's really cool. It gives you more options hitting them up into the air, and gives you time as well to sort things out, like reloading, which you feel like you're doing every other second pretty much, and in many ways I feel as though it's akin to, I feel like it's drawn inspiration at least from Devil May Cry, because you enter these areas where you got to fight these enemies. The enemies are, obviously indirectly or directly inspired by Devil May Cry, and just something nice about it with the rock music on in the background and everything else. Like, it just all works, which for, I know, a game, a demo, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is at the minute, but it's still an impressive feat. Now, I guess, like, I'm sort of well over halfway through the video here, and I've not mentioned probably one of the key points of this whole thing, and that is that, if you can believe it, this is developed by one guy. It's a one-man crew, and obviously, well, I'm gonna say obviously there's been other people involved, but to either an art asset point of view or whatever, but I can't verify that, so I don't actually know. But one of the points on Steam is that it's made by one person, and even if it's not everything, it is damn impressive. It's even just to these cutscenes, just to go through and play it, you think, oh yeah, it's really good, not bad, whatever, and and then you sort of maybe have to pinch yourself sometimes and go, oh, okay. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing the guy didn't do all the voice acting because there's different voices, but obviously, one guy's put all this together, and yeah, it boggles the mind. It really does. It's very, very impressive. So I'm guessing the engine sort of offers him the ability, the ability to add in the RTX features, which is nice. And obviously that's always something that's going to be more engine dependent than anything. So I've yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is the first time I'm watching back the footage, by the way, and it looks quite good. I was worried that there might be a few stutters because I did have when I first loaded the game. I don't know if that was, maybe due to loading textures or something to do with RTX, because RTX takes off a lot of frames. So I imagine, it probably does run perfectly well on a 660. Whether it runs well on a HD 7770, which is obviously a card I've looked at very recently, then I don't know, and it might be interesting to go back and have a look at that at some point. So I'll just talk a bit about the gameplay now. I don't think I've got much to say on the overall concept of the game. I think there's quite a bit about the story on the Steam page, which will of course be in the description, so feel free to have a look at that. But yeah, it's all very much over the top of your head, really, for like the first lot of the game. It is more just about it being an absolute mayhem in terms of action and combat and whatever, which is nice. Hopefully the story takes on a bit more and takes a bit more precedent in it. I know that these types of games are, in terms of like being a first-person shooter and what have you, it's a bit more difficult to go down the story route because your combat doesn't always, cater for that, which I get and understand. So this is the first time I used the ability. As you can see, it killed a couple of guys, knocked a few of them up in the air. Does some damage to them as well. So it's pretty powerful, but it does have a horrendous cooldown, and it takes a couple of seconds to activate as well. So all that sort of stuff will, you'll have to factor in when you're playing. Like I said, I think the blood effects still, to me, look a bit amateur. The way they've got the ammo up on the screen as well next to the gun is nice. It allows you to keep a better focus on it, and also sort of like negates the need for so much UI as well, because like your UI is around your gun rather than being at the bottom of the screen, taking on the bottom bar. Which I don't mind. It's obviously a stylistic choice. Some people will like that or not. I personally think it's fine. I'm happy for them to, for the one person, sorry, to experiment with those sort of things. And why not? The game is quite fluid, and let's be honest, I forgot half the time that my gun didn't have any bullets. Just like then, really, when I'm trying to knock them up into the air and what have you. But I think this is actually this is the scene where I got the triple S, which is not bad. Oh, I got SAS. I don't know if... Yeah, okay, so triple S is obviously the highest, I think. There is, or as you saw before, but I didn't mention it at the time, there was a puzzle, which was not a difficult one. You've just got to line the puzzle up so it activates all three sides, and then it opens up the gate. Presumably there'll be more odd stuff like that, which I don't mind the odd, minor puzzle. I guess it makes sense, breaks things up a little bit, which is nice. And it was here actually I encountered some very specific enemies. So these guys are obviously flyers, and if you use the... I was too far away there, but if you use that ability closer up to them, it just knocks them out of the air and kills them, which is nice. There's like weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses to the enemies, which I know sounds like very basic stuff, but it's really nice to see when it's implemented well. Stuff that should work logically does. And the guys will just spawn obviously out of nowhere, which is sort of like where I've sort of got the Devil May Cry comparison from. But I know a couple of people who have got it, or according to Steam anyway, who have got it on their Steam wish list. So it'd be interesting, or Steam games list. So it'd be interesting to see what you guys think about it. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was definitely has been, even its cut down version, worth the cost for me. Because not only that, you also get the full version eventually as well, which would be nice. I think this may translate into quite a nice VR title as well. Not that anyone will be calling or asking for that, but still. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, that's all I got for you today. Obviously, gone to black screen, so that's it. That's the footage over. But yeah, let me know what you think about that, and you know, hopefully we'll be able to do another video on it when the full release is out, and maybe even a bit of a playthrough, maybe potentially even. We'll see. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.